Off the coast of Long Island is an island called Fire Island. Fire Island is a barrier island to the south shore of Long Island. A barrier island is a long sandy island that runs parallel to the shore, protecting the mainland from hurricanes, large storms, and strong waves.
There is a strong sense that Fire Island protects the south shore of Long Island. And so that if it wasn't for Fire Island, not only in hurricanes, but just in heavy winter storms, that the south shore of Fire Island would flood at least up to Montauk Highway, which is what it did during Hurricane Sandy. And so there's a sense that Fire Island needs to be rebuilt in order to protect the economy of the south shore of Long Island.
When Hurricane Sandy hit Fire Island, it flattened the dunes that protected the houses and caused the ocean to breach some parts of the island. Since Fire Island is a barrier island to the south shore of Long Island, if not for its existence, or even the existence of the dunes, the south shore could have suffered more damage from the storm. Many people believe that the dunes are not important to rebuild because they are only protecting the homes of Fire Island residents. But, in fact, the rebuilding of the dunes would protect the homes and the south shore from worse damage. The problem with starting the project of rebuilding the dunes is that many organizations have to sign off on it.
And at this point, the environmentalists, because money has already been, federal dollars have already been allocated to rebuild Fire Island, the issue right now is, will the environmentalists allow that money to be spent? They are adamantly opposed to the whole concept of dune rebuilding, and so that is the issue that remains to be decided. One of the things about Fire Island is that this community, Fair Harbor, it is governed by New York State Department of Interior, the Fire Island National Seashore, Fish and Wildlife, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and probably a half a dozen other agencies. And so all of them need to be at the table to make a decision to do anything on Fire Island.
Another issue is that the sand dunes cannot be rebuilt during plover season.
In terms of the plover, which is one of the sub-issues on Fire Island, the plover is an issue for the National Seashore. It's not an issue for Fair Harbor. Nobody has seen a plover in Fair Harbor in the last 40 years. But the National Seashore has declared plovers an endangered species. It turns out that the dune front are deemed to be prime plover habitat for nesting, and so they are protected in the spring during nesting season. That's been going on for 10 years. There may be some plovers that are around here laughing at the designation, but plovers don't exist here. But the National Seashore, because that is its mandate, their attitude is there used to be plovers, there are plovers in other parts of Fire Island, and therefore, if in fact it is possible that the plovers will re-nest, they are willing to make us go out of our way to deal with that.
There are many positives and negatives to rebuilding the dunes. Environmentalists believe that rebuilding the dunes would prevent the plovers from nesting in one of their preferred nesting habitats, which is the flat sand on the shoreline of Fire Island.
The positives of rebuilding the dunes is that the houses, we have hurricanes, serious hurricanes, every 10 years, although we had 2 and 3 years, Irene and Sandy. We rebuild the dunes because in the wintertime there are bad winter storms. Without the dune protection, most of the communities would be seriously damaged every winter. And so the goal is to build up the dunes both for the long-term protection of the island and the short-term protection of the existing communities during the winter storm season and during hurricane season. The negatives are that it is not nature's way. And so if you are a believer that the barrier islands should be allowed to ebb and flow as per nature, then you would see that as damaging the environment, damaging the ecology of New York State.
The residents of Fire Island have their opinions of whether or not the dunes should be rebuilt. Many of them believe that the dunes should, in fact, be rebuilt.
As a homeowner in Fair Harbor and as president of the Community Association, I am all for rebuilding the dunes. I think that the argument of the environment is spurious at best, self-serving at worst, and that I believe that in fact that Fire Island as a barrier island is extremely important to the economy of Long Island and New York State, and that people should be aware of that and make a decision beyond trying to reintroduce animal species that are long gone from this area.
Will the dunes be rebuilt on Fire Island? Will the south shore of Long Island continue to be protected by the dunes of its barrier island? It's up to the environmentalists to decide the fate of the dunes.